Today I'm out at on Valoi beach and I've come out to shoot the Nikon F6 with a 180mm lens on it as well. It's not something I often do, is shoot this lens. I usually only use it for portraits, but it is a fantastic lens for other things as well. I very rarely take this out for landscapes, but today I'm going to be walking around and try and shoot some real shallow depth of field stuff. So with this 180mm lens at 2.8, I should be able to get some real nice shallow depth of field on stuff relatively close up, but give me that nice soft focused background and get my subject nice and sharp in the centre. I don't use long lenses very often except for my professional digital work, mostly portraiture and events. They're great for capturing the action when you're far from it, such as concerts, corporate, private events, field games and also wildlife. But what are they like for general purpose photography where you'd normally use a 50mm lens? I don't often use this Nikkor 180mm as much as I should, other than portraits, which it's excellent for, and I certainly don't use it for landscapes, and I definitely don't use it for street photography. But thinking about it, why not? Walking about with this lens for a change might add a bit of variety to otherwise boring places that I've shot over and over again, giving a different perspective. These are quite nice, these thistly things. I'm not too good with names of nature and stuff. Squirrels and rabbits I can get my head around, but I don't know all this plant stuff. I think with this lens the sweet spot is around about 5.6. Most people do say a couple of stops down from its fastest, so that would be about 5.6, but I've already tested it and it is very sharp at 5.6. But I'm going to be shooting 2.8s and some f4s as well and see how we get on. I'll show you some of the compositions that I'm going to shoot. I'm also going to try and get a couple of landscapes with it as well, see how that comes out, and then later on I'm going to get back with the negatives. I'll show you guys what I've shot, and then get in the darkroom and make a couple of darkroom prints. And it's quite a heavy setup as well. I've brought the Nikon F6 out because this lens is quite heavy, so any camera that's smaller than this, it kind of feels a bit wobbly, but this F6 just feels solid in your hand with this lens as well. Everything is firm and solid, so you know, that's just to minimise the shake. Not a good idea to load a film camera like this in bright light, but FP4 is fine. I doubt I'll get any piping going on. Easy to load, quick to load, and we're done. So the batteries are inside the camera, the film is inside the camera. I've decided that I'm going to shoot the FP4 at 400, so I've set the camera to 400. I'm going to be shooting aperture priority mode, so the camera's going to sort the shutter speed out for me, which is fine. And the reason I'm going to push that film to 400 is because I don't want my shutter speeds to go anything lower really than 250, 500 if I can help it. Because this lens is not a VR lens, it's not stabilised at all, so it just wobbles everywhere if I was at sort of 1/25 of a second or something like that. So I'm just stepping on the side of precaution. I could have bought out a 400 speed film like Tri-X or something, but I like FP4, I like the results I get from it when it's pushed at 400. And it just gives me a little bit of grain, a little bit of edge to the photographs, a bit of contrast as well, hopefully. You never know till you get back. So with this lens I've got, let's have a look, 1.8 metres is my closest, so I'll have to pull back a little bit to get a shot of these thistles. And one good thing, you can see these thistles moving. By having that film that's set a little bit faster, I can get a faster shutter speed to kind of stop the motion, which will look quite nice. But do I shoot 2.8 or f5.6? I'll take two and see what they look like. And the other thing is my exposure. The sky is brighter than the subject, and at the moment it's giving me around about 5,000th of a second shutter speed, and I'm at f5.6. But that's taking into consideration the bright background, so I'm going to dip down a little bit, and that's come to 2,500. So I'll just lock that in. And now I'll bring up, and I'm at 2,500. And take my shot. There's two little snails. I wouldn't mind spraying their shells to make them a bit glossier, but there's two little tiny snails on this stick. There's three, one down there and all. Blimey, it's like a snail farm. So what I've done with these compositions where I'm shooting up towards the sky, I've just set my exposure compensation to +1. So that was 5,000 shutter speed a minute ago, but by using the compensation, it brought me to 2.5. So that just compensates for the brightness of the sky. Oh good, he's not there. It's something you might not know about the Isle of Wight. Many years ago, in this little building, there used to live a troll, and he used to come out this little window here and he'd charge you every time you wanted to walk past. The picture I just took there of this little flower popping out of this tree, I shot it landscape, and in my mind I'm thinking I'll print that portrait if I want it. So I had it coming from the left over to the top, so I just went a little bit Dutch on it. So I didn't need to go portrait on it at all, just shot it landscape. If I want to print that portrait or landscape, I've got the choice. I practically walked all over looking for compositions, but all I kept seeing were these vicious looking teasels. I can imagine you guys are seeing pictures everywhere in the video, but I stopped at more teasels against the fence, and in my mind, I'm thinking shallow depth of field and blurry backgrounds. At 5.6, I can just about get the chicken wire in the shot, so it's not a clean background. A little bit of chicken wire, I think it might make it look a bit interesting, I don't know. The nice thing about using a non-auto lens with the Nikon F6 is I can see inside on the digital display when I'm in focus. A little tiny circle comes up and says you're in focus. Would I much prefer an automatic lens? They're a lot easier. But these are great lenses, and that's why we shoot film. We love all the old stuff, right? So to give you some sort of idea how far I can zoom in with this 180 lens, and it's not even really that telescopic when you look at 400s and 600 lenses, but I'll put this on that camera now so you can see the scene. So at the moment this is with a Nikon 40mm lens on this digital camera. I'm now going to put this old lens on this camera. I've got a converter for it, and there you go. That's now f8 with that 180mm lens on. So I can get really close, you can see. And there's not much difference using that converter either. And if I just tap the top of the lens, you can see the vibration. Look at this, and that's what I'm talking about when I'm taking my pictures. If I actually have this handheld and hand hold it, you can see, you know. So that's the struggle that I've got when I'm using this lens with any camera, especially the smaller cameras like the F3 or the FM3A. That's why I'm using the F6 with it. It's just nice and big and chunky, and I can hold it better. But you can see how much wobble I'm getting trying to hold this on the background. That's why I need these fast shutter speeds, and that's why I'm pushing that FP4 to 400 to get that. It's nice to just come out with one lens and see what you can come up with. This is the Nikkor ED lens, 188mm f2.8. It's a fantastic bit of kit as well. So I'm going to put all the vlogging stuff now in the bag, and if anyone regularly watches my content and you haven't subscribed to the channel, please make sure you do subscribe and hit the bell as well. It doesn't cost anything, just press subscribe button, and once you've hit that bell, that means next time I make a video you'll get a notification that a new video is out from the channel. And also don't forget to like the videos as well. It all helps me with continuing to make more videos for YouTube and getting the videos out to new film shooters as well, which helps the whole community, and that's what this channel is all about, film community. Sometimes I don't get it right, sometimes I do, but if I can inspire people along the way that are shooting film, give them ideas, I've done my job and I've helped myself along the way with enjoying the hobby that I do. Professionally, I shoot digital, but film is just my hobby and I enjoy it. I got home, and that afternoon I loaded another roll of film, expired Agfa APX 400, and I went for a walk along a country cycle path looking for more shallow depth of field long lens opportunities. This film was a 36 roll, and I knew I wasn't going to shoot the whole roll on the same stuff. To be honest, I was getting a little bit bored, as I think I'd already photographed what I'd already wanted. So I decided to save the rest of the roll for the next day, which was the classic motorcycle event. This should be a good opportunity to see what I can get with this lens. So today I thought I'd burst off the last of that roll that I was shooting yesterday. I had about 15 shots left in it. I've come to a motorbike show and taken some photographs here. Unfortunately, a lot of the good ones are inside, but you can see above me there's loads of light coming off the roof coming down. But I've put the 180mm away because I was hitting speeds of like 1/25th per second, 2/50th inside here. So it was a real struggle, and I know that I was struggling at 2.8 to keep a focus in. But I've changed lenses over, and I'm just going to pop the rest of this off, enjoy myself, and I'll show you some of the photographs that I've taken on that 180mm lens here. Some were outside where people were in conversation, so a little bit of event photography, if you like. Yeah, it's pretty good down here for photographs. Shows like this are a great place to build your confidence in photographing people and events, and this lens is ideal for it. I was hardly inconspicuous with a Japanese brick of joy in my hands, but that doesn't matter. You can always expect photographers at these events, which pretty much gives you a free access to shoot away at your heart's content. Also, being a motorcycle show, I wasn't short of interesting characters, and although I was aiming for natural moments, I did ask a couple of people if I could take their photograph. And having a long lens, I found myself walking a fair distance back, much to the amusement of the person. So the very first film I used was Ilford FP4, and I developed that in Kodak D23. Black and white film developing is really easy to do at home, and if you've never tried it, I'd highly recommend it. There are plenty of developers on the market, and they all do pretty much the same job, but each to their own taste. And with the APX400 and also the last roll of Ilford FP4, I'm developing in a new developer from Zone Imaging that I'm experimenting with. It's yet to be released. I got some lovely contrasty photos inside on the bikes, and I do like a bit of contrast. So you see these three photographs here, I think these were my favourite. So I'm going to go off into the darkroom now and get them off the computer and onto paper. And if you stick around, I'll show you how I make a print in the darkroom. And if you like these prints, I'm going to be making these available on my Etsy page. There's a link in the description, so if you want to support the channel and buy one of my prints, you can just scan this code that comes up at the moment on your phone, or you can go to the link in the description, which will take you straight to my Etsy page. So I'm in the darkroom now, and I've done some negative cleaning, and I've done some tests on the first print that I liked, which was the snails. The tests have come out okay, and I'm using a contrast 4 and a contrast 5, and I'll show you what I'm doing. So my time I found was 14.1 seconds. This is f16, guys. On the enlarger, I could open the aperture up more and do less time, but I'm going exactly with what my tests have told me to do. And this is Kentmere VC Select glossy paper that I'm using today. And it goes into this 10x8 easel, and I'm also going to be putting a black border around as well, using this cardboard template that I've cut out purposely to put inside the easel, shine bright light on it, and that will give me that black border that I'm after. So let's do 14.5 seconds first, and then we'll just tickle it with a contrast 5. So by using these filters, I'm not going to make that background darker than I want it. I want it to look just a tad above the nursery of the paper, and I worked out about 5 seconds with the contrast 5 filter, and all that's going to do is just blacken the twig and the shells a little bit more, giving it more of a high key look. Off that goes, and the last thing I need to do is just put my cardboard cutout inside to make the border. And I'm not too fussed with getting the border dead straight. It is homemade, it's handmade if you like, so as long as I've got a black border around the edge. And then I'll just open the aperture on the enlarger, and now we'll just turn the enlarger on for a few seconds and let that border go black. 3, 4, 5, that'll do. And it goes into my developer. So it'll be in there for a couple of minutes, making sure that all the blacks have hit their max blacks, and then I'll get it stopped and then get it fixed, washed and dried, and I'll show you guys shortly. I'll let it come through so you can see it coming through. It's actually a really nice photograph, different. I certainly haven't done anything like this before. And that's the finished print there with the snails. I'm really glad I took that shot, you know. It's unusual to see little snails growing up a twig. Just change the camera angle so you can see what I'm doing, but it's quite tricky with that exhaust. The highlights are banging on it. Even if I pre-flash the paper, that's just going to take the contrast down a little bit. It's not going to help. So I'm going to have to burn in more light on the exhaust using these two pieces of card. I've got a contrast 0 underneath the enlarger, which is a low contrast filter, so that will build up those highlights. It should give us something, a little bit of density there anyway at least, but I don't think there's no detail in that part. It is chrome and the sun was blaring off of it. So 20 seconds I've got on the timer, and after the whole image is going to get 7 seconds, and after 7 seconds I'm going to cover the exhaust so the exhaust gets an extra 13 seconds. So here we go, I'll count that in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then cover. So the exhaust is getting more time now, nothing else. And that's done. And because the rest of the image only got 7 seconds, that's going to be quite flat. So I'm going to use a contrast 5 filter to pop those blacks a little bit, and only for 5 seconds. And that should be done. There it goes. So hopefully that will just pop the contrast a little bit. Let's see what we got. And I do like these sort of prints. I think they really do suit black and white, even though this was taken in 2024. If you showed it to someone, they wouldn't have a clue if it was taken in the 60s or 70s, because it's that classic old process. And there's nothing else in that image to indicate that it's modern day. Unless those glasses are, but I doubt it. Maybe the helmet. No, I don't know. Maybe the spring. It's a nice photograph. I just like it. And there it is, and that's come out nice. Just took that brightness away from that chrome, so it's not exactly the same whiteness as the edges of the paper where it's lost. So I've got some detail in there, a little bit of grain, which looks quite nice. Let's hang this out to dry and have a look at it. So just to recap, that was the snail one that I took. I enjoyed taking that photograph. Never seen anything like that, so I'm quite glad I got that shot in and made a print of it as well. And the furry things as well, that was a nice photograph, nice depth of field. That one was shot at 2.8. You can see that bokeh in the background as well, or bokeh, whatever they want to call it. Just a nice looking photograph. And I'm glad I shot the faster shutter speeds, because them things were moving about and you can see they're sharp on the print. And finally, the one that's still drying at the moment, which is the motorcycle helmet, which I like. It's just timeless, like I said. And I'm glad I did a little bit of jiggery pokery on that exhaust, otherwise that would have wound me up. But yeah, that's come out really nice as well. So that's what I initially envisioned at the start, was to go out and get some wildlife or plants and stuff growing out the ground, like those teasels and the furry things, and getting that banging shallow depth of field, shooting 2.8s and 5.6s. And I was getting just that. And then I took the lens to the bike show and I realised, why haven't I taken this lens to more car shows and bike shows that I've been to in the past? You can certainly get some great, you know, event looking shots of people mingling, people talking, lots of different characters, and I don't even know you're there. And like, there's loads of other photographers around you as well, so you know, you're not exactly sticking out like a sore thumb. So at that bike show, I found that it was good for portraits, I found it was good for shooting people in crowds, gathering, etc. And it was also good for getting close up on some details of the bikes. I had to switch over to the 50mm because inside it wasn't that good. It's not a stabilised lens, so I was all over the place. I needed to get some speed into the camera. That's why I switched over. But I got some great results out of it anyway. Let us know in the comments if any of you guys regularly take out long lenses. What do you use it for? I love to know, and I'm sure others would love to know as well. Look out on my Etsy page for those prints, guys. They're going to be going on there. And thanks very much for watching. I hope this has inspired anybody that's wondering what these sort of lenses can do. And I'll catch you next time.